Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. No, it's not really. It's Saturday. I'm doing a pre record for today's show because I'm taking off for Paducah and a bunch of things on Monday got all fiddle faddled around. And I said, I'll just do a pre record. This is so important to me. This is the fourth segment of our trips to the San Jose Quilt and Textile Museum with Nancy Bavor. And I wanted to make sure that you saw this and we kept it together as a unit, a package. So John is on. If you have any questions or anything, he can answer them for you. All right. So today's about Yvonne Porcella and what we discovered at the San Jose Quilt and Textile Museum. But it's also about inspiration. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the video and some other things I'm going to show you before we get started into it. So spring is here. I love it. There was Lyric put something up on her site when the green just starts to come out. I am so inspired by this green. That's inspiration number one. We used to have a big redwood there that we sadly had to bring down because it was, I don't know, two-thirds dead because of the drought. So now we can see back into the park, and I love the green that comes out when everything just starts to bud. And then as, of course, it gets more into the summer, everything darkens up. But that's the view out of my kitchen window. All right, Thursday, twice a month, the first Thursday and the third Thursday, we meet at Dale's house. Diana McClellan started this all at her studio, but now we're meeting at Dale's, and it was Diana's birthday, her birthday. So Dale, we normally go to Dale's, we sit around this big table, and I don't know, I think there's about 15 or 16 of us, and normally there's usually about 10 that show up. But boy, when we found out it was Diana's birthday, we were all there. So that's Diana, I'm going to say at 1 o'clock in the teal blue outfit, smiling and laughing. And a lot of these people you might know, Freddie didn't make it. And that made me sad. I think she fell and broke her arm or something like that. So she wasn't there. But, you know, Sujata's there and Dale's in a wheelchair because she had knee surgery and it got infected. Fabulous. She's the one that invented the 7-minute pieced circle. And then Dale got these cupcakes for us. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. These are baby cupcakes. They're not full size. And I was torn between the carrot cake and the red velvet. So I grabbed the red velvet. And then as I was leaving, I was thanking Dale for everything. She said, yeah. She said, I was assuming everybody was going to take two, but everybody just took one. So I'm going to give them to my grandkids. Well, you can be darn sure that I grabbed another one before I walked out the door. Whoops, I tripped. It went down my mouth. So here is Diana. I love Diana McClellan. She has been in my quilting life forever and ever. She is an inspiration to me. And you might know her if you don't know her in person from this book that she wrote with Laura Nouns, who was at the table, but you couldn't see in the shot. And also, she was a founding mother of Empty Spools seminars at Asilomar. So let me go back to this. She's 90. Boy, she is 90 and she is sharp as a tack. So we're super, super excited we could gather and celebrate 90 wonderful years. I always say to people, if they've affected me this way, I go, I'm so glad you were born. I'm just so glad you were born and that I've gotten to be a part of your life. Okay, so the cat story goes on. I want to replace my beloved Heidi, who passed. And I have said all along, my cat will find me because it always finds me, all right? I did determine I don't want a kitten. I mean, Heidi was great, but I do not want to go through that again. I go to the doctor and go, she's crazy. And they go, no, we know. No, she's really crazy. So my next door neighbor at work knows a person who knows a person who has two cats. And I got this picture. They are 2 years old. You're going to love their name. Their names are Pugsley and on the oh, oh okay, brain freeze. Pugsley and from the Adams family. I better get their name. Wednesday, Pugsley and Wednesday. Wednesday's the black female, and Pugsley's the two-colored one. So the story here is they are 2 years old. The mother has to get rid of them because she lives in a two-bedroom apartment and she has a child who has severe disabilities. Severe. The child is 18 and she was saying that had the abilities of a 1.5-year-old. And so she's in over her head. So, okay, first of all, 2 years old, that's the best time to get a cat. And I said, okay, what are you concerned? Because this has got to be killing you to give it away. What are you concerned about not knowing me? And she said, well, I'm concerned, number one, that they don't get separated. I said, I will not separate them. Number two, she said, I want them to go to a loving, kind home. And I said, they're coming to Disneyland. And I said, but I want to come meet them. So John and I went to meet them yesterday. We're going tomorrow, Sunday. And then she will hang on to them until I get back from Paducah and we can settle the cats in a way. I really, really think that these two might be it. I really do. But stay tuned. That's part of the story, right? Okay. Then I saw this on Facebook. All right, look at this incredible, incredible rug. And it was on Hadi Ranaward's Facebook. But wait, you guys, it's not a rug. Those are matchsticks. I can't believe it. Look at this. Just amazing. And I think I have one more shot. Yeah, yeah. So that is art. That inspires me. Okay, back in the day, I've shared this before, but I kind of want to set the stage for Yvonne here, the late Yvonne. I was going up to Chico, that's where John and I met in college, and stopped by the nut tree. I've told this story before. And Jean Ray Laurie had a display. This would be the mid 70s. Well, actually, it's probably 1973 or 74. Had a display in the hall going to the restaurant at the nut tree, and it was all fiber, I think like felt or wool. And I'm sorry about the clarity of these pictures. I mean, these were grabbed, in the 70s. And of course, we didn't have the wonderful things that we have with the internet now and images. So here was one of them. I was absolutely dumbstruck that fabric could be considered art because at that point, I think I was an art major, but I thought I'd have to leave my sewing behind. So here's another one. All right. John and I got married. I left Chico and went to San Francisco State, of which that's where I graduated. I had a teacher, a crochet teacher named Marika Contempasis, and she was amazing. She could crochet the most incredible garments, wall sculptures, and clothing, etc. I believe now she's a designer in New York, but she inspired me beyond measure, understanding how fiber can be viewed as art. All right. So then let's talk about when I probably saw the first Yvonne Porcella piece. And again, this is a very small picture because of the time it was taken. And this kimono, I'm going to say it was 8 feet tall or something like that. And all of a sudden I realized you could make clothing like the other thing I just showed you of Marika's. Now I was a quilter at this point out of cotton and come up with spectacular results. And it didn't have to be made to wear, it could be made to go on the wall. So all of this is fusing together as inspiration for me to grow as an artist. So this is Yvonne back in the olden days, just adorable. And she really, really made a movement in California and actually now nationwide with SAQA, which is Studio Art Quilt Association. She started it. And I remember I've shared this before when I was with her and telling her, and she was telling me she was doing this. I thought she was, out of her mind, out of her mind. But oh no, no, she knew exactly what she was going, what she was thinking. Now we just saw the black and white checked kimono. So look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. She really worked primarily in super, super vibrant colors. Black and white checkerboards were certainly something in her genre. And it was interesting. One of Jonathan Shannon's quilts, I can't remember if it's the skeleton quilt or the airplane quilt, there's black and white checkerboard in it. And I'll bet Yvonne inspired Jonathan because that's how it all works. Here's another piece of hers. It's just lovely. I mean, that just screams Yvonne. And then yet another one. I love this picture of her because you can see too, she works in all different sizes. But then Yvonne kind of went away from all this super bright work into working with silk. And it was almost like it took a U-turn or a 90-degree or whatever. And that just shows me what an artist Yvonne was because she was willing to try different things, challenge yourself, et cetera, et cetera. So let's take a look at the video that John just got finished putting together. And this is the story of what inspired her garment making, all right? Her garment making. Let's take a look-see. We're at the San Jose Quilt and Textile Museum, and I'm here with Nancy Bavor. Nancy, thank you so much for opening the doors of the museum to us.
That's a pleasure.
There's no people here today. Anyways, in a side room, there's a whole Yvonne Porcella exhibit, and it caught our eye. So I think it's a wonderful snapshot of the late Yvonne.
Yes.
And let's talk about her clothing because that's what she was really, she was known for a lot of things, but clothing was a big deal.
Yes, yes. So she traveled and she collected clothing from other cultures from the Central Asia.
Okay.
Here, and they inspired, as well as she also collected kimono from Japan and China, and we can see some of those in a minute. But they inspired her to publish her first book, which was the 5 dress patterns. And then she used regular fabrics to make those.
Let's take a look at some of her patterns that she created. I mean, to me, this is a time capsule because, boy, we were all running around in these outfits.
Yes, sure. So one of her first publications were 5 ethnic patterns, and she used store-bought fabrics for these 2 garments. But these are ones that she wore, and again, she's already starting her traditional or her well-known checkerboard, brightly colored, but the shapes of them were inspired by those textiles that she purchased in Japan, China, and Central Asia.
Yeah, that's Yvonne in the back, right there.
And the black and white checkerboard.
She was so afraid of fabric.
Yes, intimidated by color too.
Right. And now what about down here? What's going on?
So these are some of her later works,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more subdued color. I think she probably didn't wear these very much. They don't strike me as being very much like
No,
Yvonne.
no. Let me
But
turn the back.
in
No, this one
addition-
doesn't turn.
I don't think they do turn. Let's look at some of the ones that she also, because she collected not only garments that were fully made, but she also collected textiles from other cultures by yardage.
But then she made
And then
these.
she made these based on her patterns.
Well, let's start down there
And
with
so
molas.
this one, with the mola on the front, from the San Blas Islands, off the coast of Panama. A lot of people collected molas in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there are some blouses that we can see later that it's a panel on the front and the back that are the same.
But I'm going to say, excuse me, I'm going to say that you can go to quilt shows even now
You
and
still
perhaps get little
You
panels.
can get mola shoes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mola
That's right.
boots.
That's right.
But interesting, she combined them with Guatemalan striped fabrics and some store-bought fabrics in the sleeves.
Mm-hmm. And then this one in the middle over here.
A kimono shape, but made with those Guatemalan fabrics that she collected. And then on the last one, conchas and blue jeans, again combined with possibly Japanese woven fabric. I'm not quite certain exactly where it's from, but international.
I don't remember seeing her wear these pieces.
She didn't wear them very often. Just, you know, once she kind of became known as an art quilter, I think she wore different things, but they were to promote her book.
So I remember in the olden days when her kimonos hit the scene, because
Yes.
that was unlike anything
Yes.
we've seen. And you have one here.
We do, and I'll just say that this is unlike her first kimono, which was actually in Quilt National in, I believe, 1981. So it was the second Quilt National. It was more her colors that we associate brightly, black and white checkerboard and primary colors. But later on in her years, she started working in this more subtle pastel where she would actually paint the fabric. And then this is all layers of fabric, raw edge. But again, these are kimono not meant to be worn.
Right.
And they are quite heavy and they are quite large.
Well, and before we did this, and I got my nose on it, that's actually cotton. And I know she also jumped into silk, correct?
She did. So this is one of Yvonne's later works from 2007, and again, very improvisational. She's using a lot of silk and fusibles, and I've watched her work on these, and she just kind of lays them out intuitively. It's really quite remarkable to see how quickly she works and intuitively she works.
This is Yvonne.
This is Yvonne.
I mean,
Yeah,
look at the binding and all that. I have to tell you something, Nancy. I'm not quite sure when the museum acquired her pieces. She was thrilled. And she said to me, do you know how important that is? That is really important. So
now, she donated her collection of her World Textiles and then some works of artists she collected, because she also collected works by artists she admired and traveled with, often teaching. And then some of her works have come to us over time.
well, let's quickly take a look, because these are some of them, right?
This is an early work by Pauline Burbage, an English artist. This is from 1984. And it is a log cabin here, but she distorts it so she gets this three-dimensional, sort of a tumbling box, traditional tumbling blocks look. But she's working in very different style now. But again, think about this as being 1984. This is quite remarkable for then.
And then this piece.
The next one is by Michael James.
Michael James!
Yes, again, an early work by Michael James, 1982. His signature strip piecing, and yes, it's meant to be hung on point like this.
Okay.
And then another work by Sonia Lee Barrington, who is a San Francisco-based artist, and this again is one of her early works. And if you think about back to 1982, this was pretty revolutionary.
Yeah,
this
really.
is pretty extraordinary. Machine pieced, hand quilted, and Sonia became known really later on for her hand dyeing, and I learned to dye fabrics.
I
from
bought
Sonia.
some of her stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of her
really
stuff.
great. And then this is one that I'm especially pleased is in the collection. This is by Beth Gutchin from 1980, and she was an East Coast artist, and she and her husband both manufactured fabric and did all sorts of things, but they were both artists as well.
Well, this is extraordinary. Thank you so much. Can I have a huggy?
Yes.
Oh man, we don't have microphones on, so we can huggy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for making a special trip today.
I know everybody's enjoyed it. When I was sitting there watching it, I was thinking, these people in the past in quilting, and you too, are carving pathways for future generations of quilters. And it's through teaching, it's through sharing, it's through all this that we can grow abundant in what we are doing and bring new things to the sport. I think the reason people hang with quilting so long, I can speak for myself, 40 years, is that there's always something new and innovative and something where I go, huh. So here is a picture of Yvonne when she was in the throes of cancer. She had it for 6 years, and it didn't slow her down at all, at all. In fact, I think I even read somewhere that she was doing a quilt for SAQA's auction that just happened this last week, basically with the help of her husband, basically on her deathbed, okay? So I want to tell you, let me show you something else before I tell you something. So after she passed, Pokey, Patricia Bolton, Craft Napa, was asked to do a special exhibit at the Alden Lane Outdoor Quilt Show. So she did a tribute to Yvonne, and she put out a call for quilts of a certain size. I've got mine here, and it was a room just filled with quilts on how Yvonne touched you. So this is mine. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of that first kimono that was so small. It's so weird to, here, this way. There we go. Yeah, right here. And I've got some little sequins sewn on and all that. This was not easy. This was hard. I think it turned out beautifully, but it was hard design-wise. And then on the back, she's exceedingly spiritual Catholics, exceedingly. I mean, like she was high up in the hierarchy of the church. So I finally cut into this fabric, finally, and then I went and put little sequins here and there on the back here of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they were actually going to sell these pieces, and the money was going to go to SAQA. And I said, Pokey, I can't do it. And she goes, Pokey goes, I can't either. So when I pulled it out, I kind of forgot how wonderful, if I can say so myself, it is, and I need to hang it in my office. All right. And then when I get back from Paducah, don't forget, it's wool gnome time. And I got a note from one of you saying they can't wait to add their own things to it. And I'm not going to give away anything, but the pattern is a little bit plainer than this, and then which gives you room to add your little to-das to it to tell your secret garden story. Okay, so I just want to thank, oh no, this is what I'm going to tell you. John has told me that he is going to open up Yvonne's show. So that we'll do that, this morning if it's not already. And it is her legend show. So you can learn more about her and how she thinks and how she works. Again, in this, she was in the throes of cancer, and that is a little wig on her head. And in the after set, we talked to Yvonne about it, and it was a beautiful teaching moment. And that's really who Yvonne was, a beautiful teacher with an artistic soul and a love for the craft. Anyways, I hope to see you at Paducah if you're going to be there. I'll be in the Quilters Select booth Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. And then when we get back, I'm going to see Joey and Shelly and the kids too, and Ricky and Kay Brooks from R&K Distributing. It's just going to be a blockbuster trip for me. When we get back, we'll get going on. I've waited a half a year for this. I am so excited. And if you've never had the pleasure of working with wool, I would really take a moment to try this out. I think one of the things that's a little bit staggering about wool is the cost of it, but it is what it is, which is why we tried to keep the kit as succinct as possible. Yes, we do still have kits, and we do have patterns if you don't want to do that. I look forward to what you share, for me to share what you're sharing, etc. So have a great day. It's Saturday afternoon at 3, and at 3:30, I'm going to go to a baseball game and watch William pitch for the first time. Oh, nerve-wracking for Bubby. So take care. Thank you so much for your time. You give to me so much, you'll never know. Bye-bye.